Welcome back. Coach K, Keys to the Journey. And today we're going to discuss the topic of school choices, for your kids and what is available to you and why it's available to you and how things have evolved over time. Let's dive in and look at public schools, right? The traditional public school. I'm a graduate of a public school from my hometown, and it seems that enrollment has been declining in those schools. So that affects, I think, some of the programs and athletics and those types of things. So why are these things happening? I believe it's happening because there's more school choice is expanding. You got charter schools, private schools, homeschooling and specialty programs. You look at some states, the decline in the residency also has a lot to do with the schools enrollment in different areas as well. Some families feel that the local public school isn't meeting academic, social, or athletic expectations. Facilities declining, discipline, the personalized support that was once there when their parents were attending school. I know it's a perception, but it drives these decisions sometimes. Then you got the competition from alternative schools. The charter schools are increasing in a lot of communities, and there's just a shift right now. And why this matters for student athletes is that school choice isn't just academics anymore. Families are prioritizing athletic development and visibility, access to recruiters, all that type of stuff. So, just wanted to kind of explore why this is happening by trying to magnify, the types of schools that are here for our kids and choices that you have. Some families feel that traditional public schools are not built to serve high-level athletes seeking recruitment, right? Many times you may have a kid that's emerging as a top athlete. He may be interested, or someone may come to him and say, hey, there's a prep school, or there's a boarding school, or there's a charter school that might be better for you in terms of what you're seeking, right? Coaches at these schools, they got to work with what's available locally, which doesn't always attract outside attention. You got a bunch of different levels of athletic resources and coaching, right? I coached at a charter school, and when given the opportunity, I was told I had to use the traditional public school kind of format as coaches. Okay, you can only have this many coaches on your team. I knew that what the kids needed was more supervision, more mentorship, more coaching, and not just some traditional system that they were kind of trying to put on our area. So immediately I brought in more coaches because it's what the kids need. It's sort of like operating a black and white TV, but wanting color TV or streaming results, trying to watch Hulu or Amazon Prime on a black and white TV. Like, times have changed, right? So this is what the traditional schools are still kind of stuck in a old system. Some of them, not all of them, just some of them, because I live in an area now where the public schools are thriving in terms of athletics and keeping their kids, but there's still that thing where they want more. They want more, exposure, Roster spots don't have to be limited by district boundaries, that type of stuff. Like, that's what you have to deal with public schools. And then you have the alternative, which is a charter school, which they specialize on academic programs, STEM, arts, early college, and they can innovate, more than a traditional public school. It's more modern. The problem is the finances caused to not having good facilities, right? Their athletics might vary. They might not have every sport. Not all states allow athletic recruiting into charters, and it's just they're growing. So, but there's no doubt about it. What they're doing is they're providing an alternative for parents to bring their kids there. Charters they're part of the public education, but their appeal often lies in customized academics or mission focus. They're not always stronger when it comes to sports exposure because they don't have the best facilities. So they're only like 10, 15 years old coming into the education system. Then you have to look at another alternative, private schools, right? Private schools have been known for a long time to dominate in many states their competitions in several sports because they can attract athletes from wider areas, and they're not limited to a district. And obviously, if you can afford to pay, then you may be able to pay for some of the extra programming that comes along with development for your child. In many regions, they got strong athletic programs, more opportunities for visibility and development, sometimes stronger facilities and competition, right? But it comes at a cost. There's tuition, you got to pay for it, and some provide financial aid. So, but they do again provide another alternative for parents who are looking for something different. They might want their kids in a more structured system. They don't want to send them to the traditional system that they may have grew up in themselves. And then you have boarding schools or prep schools, right? These are highly structured, daily schedule, combining training, academics, and recruiting exposure as part of their daily curriculum. That's what they do. Coaches and development programs designed to elevate athletes are all incorporated into that, and they're with the kids all day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, practice, after school studies, they're with the kids all day. I sent my son to a prep school, and I found that I really enjoyed the structure provided for him as a young man. He had to wash his clothes on his own. He had to learn how to grow up. He sort of had to be it was like being on a college campus, 10th grade. And I would have appreciated something like that to sort of guide me, opposed to waking up every day, getting on the city bus, going downtown, maybe getting into trouble. It would given me more structure, right? And it just depends on what the family is seeking, what they need. But there's a reason why people are deciding to leave the communities or that they grew up in with their kids, and it's because if traditional public schools don't evolve, eventually every top athlete that comes through their system is going to be recruited, or it's going to be kind of led to look for better opportunities for them when it comes to recruiting. So I believe that those traditional programs that have not evolved yet, and I'm not saying all of them, okay, there's just some, need to find a better system, need to kind of wake up and grow into technology advancement, modernization of their of their system and what they have. or they're going to continue to lose their kids and decline their programs and stuff like that is going to continue to happen. Could you imagine if the U.S. military was still operating from the 1940s in equipment? No, they had to evolve, right? Not just them. Everything we do, there has to evolve. Everybody's job has evolved. It's not like the 1970s. When you stop out there, we're in 2026, and many of the systems that are involved from leadership are just passed down generation to generation. It's the same thing. Well, you got to wake up, or you're going to continue to have this problem. Leadership in those areas, it's a big problem. You got boarding and prep environments that intensify training, and they value sports. They value visibility for exposure for young men and women in a way that traditional high schools rarely can, because they're up to date, and why do families leave and seek institutions like that, or move to other states, or send their kids to boarding schools? They do it to find higher competition. They do it to find better coaching, better mentoring, more exposure to college recruiters and academic environments. That's why they do it. They want to find programs that are aligned with athletic goals, especially if local schools don't offer that pathway. So those are just things that you should know in terms of searching for a school for your child. Every kid has a different path, has a different journey, and what families need, what they may need, maturity, whatever it is, academics, more development, whatever it needs. Everybody has a different journey. So now another thing that has sort of come into play is reclassification, and what that means. So reclassification, if you don't know, means that changing a student athlete's expected high school graduation year. So if you come into high school and your graduation year is 2029, and let's just say for whatever reason you want it to be 2030, or so that's reclassification, is that you're reclassifying the class in which you're going to be graduating from. Why do families choose to do it? Some to gain an extra year for physical development, maturity, and skills before college recruiting begins. I'm mentioning this because it kind of goes hand in hand with the boarding schools as well. You can go to a post-grad boarding school and kind of have the same situation, after you graduate. I had a nephew that went to Milford Academy. He graduated high school during his class, and then the next year he graduated from Milford Academy, and that became his official reclassification year. But now you can reclassify earlier than just your senior year if you're choosing to do it for one of those three things. Again, physical development, maturity, skills. Sometimes it aligns with the recruiting cycles to maximize exposure, so you get another year of being on the circuit for recruiting. And it also helps to build academic and athletic readiness. So another year of development all the way around. In simple terms, families sometimes see timing as an advantage. More time to grow, improve, and more time to get noticed for exposure and everything. So all of this matters, on the keys to the journey for you and your child, and it changes every year. I'm here to just try to keep, make sure you have the information, right? School choice, it matters. It's not just classroom quality, but how schools support student athletes in their athletic goals, right? Public schools remain foundational, but alternatives for other structured pathways For athletes who need exposure and development, it do exist. All those things are options, and it's good to know. It's good to have the information. It's good to just at least explore what options you have for yourself. And I just want to present that to you. Again, it's Coach K, Keys to the Journey, and you can find us at keystothejourney.com. I'm out.